You think you know The Simpsons? Think again. For over 3 decades, this cartoon family quietly redefined what we find funny, how we talk, and even our views on society. But its true groundbreaking influence goes far beyond catchphrases and couch gags. So join us as we break down how The Simpsons changed comedy in simple detail. If you ever needed proof that a family of yellow cartoon characters could quietly change culture, you don't need to look further than The Simpsons. On the surface, it's just a show about a lazy dad, a smart daughter, a troublemaking son, and a mom with endless patience. But if you look past the jokes and catchphrases, you'll notice something else. The Simpsons didn't just entertain us. They changed how we talk, how we joke, and how we look at the world. And it did all of this while pretending to be nothing more than a silly cartoon sitcom. That's the genius of it. Let's start with one of the most obvious but often missed tricks that the show pulled off: self-aware humor. Long before breaking the fourth wall became normal in sitcoms and internet jokes, The Simpsons were already doing it. Characters sometimes acted like they knew they were in a cartoon, the writers made fun of themselves, and the show often mocked television as a whole. It wasn't just Bart telling us to eat his shorts. It was the entire town of Springfield saying, "We know this is ridiculous, but that's the whole point." Today we expect shows to be ironic, self-referential, and clever. But back in the 90s, that to the early 90s, that was bold. So how did this style become mainstream? Timing. The show's primetime slot was groundbreaking. Before The Simpsons, cartoons were mostly stuck on Saturday mornings, aimed at kids with bowls of cereal. Putting an animated family on evening television was a quiet rebellion against what adult TV was supposed to be. Suddenly, satire about politics, society, and family dysfunction wasn't hidden in late-night sketch shows. It was in primetime, right after the evening news and next to other family sitcoms. This gave sharp cultural commentary a chance to reach millions who might never have looked for it. People tuning in for slapstick ended up laughing at jokes about consumerism before they even realized they were being pushed to think about society. And it wasn't just the commentary that mattered, it was about how the stories were told. Before The Simpsons, sitcoms usually followed simple setups and clean punchlines. The lessons were tidy, the jokes were obvious, and characters rarely changed. But The Simpsons expected more from viewers. It stacked jokes, packed in references, and trusted audiences to enjoy both the silly gags and the satire. You could laugh at Homer getting stuck in a bucket, but at the same time, you were also seeing a take on parenting or corporate greed. This layered style set a new standard. It made us expect sharper comedy, richer satire, and characters who were less like perfect TV stereotypes and more like messy reflections of ourselves. Once those layers were built, something surprising happened. Springfield began to slip into everyday life. A quick line from a side character could turn into an office joke, a school meme, or even a shorthand for feelings that were hard to explain. This is what I'd call the Springfield effect. Just think about how many lines from the show became part of regular speech. Dough is now understood around the world. Even meh, which existed before, but was popularized by The Simpsons, became the perfect way to sum up modern boredom in one sound. What's amazing is how small jokes, often written for just one episode, stick for decades, turning into memes, online slang, and everyday expressions. And then there's the show's strange talent for predicting the future, or at least seeming to. Over the years, The Simpsons has become famous for calling big events, smartwatches, autocorrect mistakes, and even political results. Some of these are just lucky guesses, but others come from the show's sharp ability to make fun of current events in a way that felt so spot on it later seemed prophetic. When the show joked about Donald Trump becoming president back in 2000, it was meant as a ridiculous gag. 15 years later, it wasn't a joke anymore, and suddenly people were saying, The Simpsons predicted it. When it comes to language, the influence is undeniable. Few shows can say they've changed the dictionary like The Simpsons has. From embiggen to cromulent, the show didn't just give us funny words, it gave us terms people actually started using. These words worked because they captured the same playful style as the show itself. Nonsense that somehow made sense. Even scholars have studied this, pointing out how the show helped nonsense words spread into real speech. Of course, none of this would have been possible without the show's courage to take on serious issues under the cover of animation. For many people, this was their first taste of satire that wasn't about clumsy slapstick, but about society itself. Whether it was mocking corrupt politicians, careless teachers, or greedy corporations, The Simpsons suggested that the systems around us were just as laughable as Homer falling off a roof. It smuggled social critique into living rooms, dressed up as jokes, and kids may have watched Bart's pranks, but they also absorbed commentary on topics like the environment and gender roles without even realizing it. The beauty of it was that these critics were light enough to keep the laughs coming, but sharp enough to leave a mark. Homer, working at the nuclear power plant, wasn't only about his incompetence, it was also about our uneasy trust in massive corporations and risky technology. A joke about Ken Brockman stumbling through the news wasn't just funny, it was a reminder of how the media shapes what people believe. Over time, these small but steady critiques made viewers more skeptical and more curious. And because the show has been on for decades, it has had the rare chance to change along with America's values and fears. Watching old episodes now feels like looking through a scrapbook of what people used to worry about, laughing at, and find worth mocking in the 90s, 2000s, and later. From globalization to the rise of tech, The Simpsons didn't just keep pace. It often got there first, turning our collective fears into digestible, funny stories. This long run turned the show into a kind of cultural mirror, sometimes cracked, sometimes warped, but always showing truths we weren't always ready to admit. And this is where we see the real blueprint that the show left behind. Once The Simpsons showed that animation could be smart, sharp, and full of real feelings, the door opened for a whole new wave of adult cartoons. Think of Springfield as the starting pool where other shows grew, each adding its own kind of chaos. South Park took the wild energy and pushed it with shock humor and quick takes on current events. Family Guy grabbed the cutaway gag style and said, "What if The Simpsons didn't hold back at all?" Later, Rick and Morty took the family sitcom setup, mixed it with science and dark ideas, and built an empire of pickle jokes. All of them, whether they say it or not, owe something to Homer and his donut-loving ways. Without The Simpsons showing that cartoon families could deal with serious issues and still get big ratings, these shows might have been brushed off as small experiments instead of becoming huge hits. But beyond sparking copycats, The Simpsons also changed how TV thought about telling stories. For a show that looked like it reset each week, Bart was still in the 4th grade. Homer still at the plant quietly played with longer acts and character growth. We saw Lisa's struggles with being misunderstood, Marge giving up things for her family, and even Homer showing rare moments of real emotion. These weren't frozen cartoon cutouts, they shifted, even if only a little, and those moments carried weight. This gave later shows the freedom to break away from strict one-off episodes. Suddenly, cartoons didn't just have to be gag machines. They could be arcs, callbacks, and running threads that made viewers care about the characters' lives, not just their jokes. The big lesson was this. Cartoons weren't only for kids, and they weren't only for laughs. They could be sharp tools for cultural critique. The bright colors and exaggerated figures made hard truths easier to take. Watching Homer mess up at his nuclear job softened the blow of realizing our real workplaces might be just as careless. Seeing Mr. Burns hoard wealth and mistreat workers was easier to laugh at in cartoon form, but the point still hit home. And here's the twist. Even after decades on air, The Simpsons still matters. In 2025, when new cartoons pop up every month, Springfield still has weight. Part of that comes from nostalgia. Many grew up quoting Bart, copying Homer's dough, or hearing Lisa on the sax. But it's not just about memories. The jokes still land. The themes still connect, and the show still shapes how we see satire. A new generation can find old episodes and laugh at them as if they were new because life's absurdities haven't changed as much as we think. Think about how many memes you've seen online that started with The Simpsons. Many don't even realize Homer's slippage into a hedge or Principal Skinner's "Am I out of touch?" No, it's the children who are wrong, come from episodes that aired decades ago. The show has become part of the internet's visual language, quick signs for feelings and ideas we all get right away. That's cultural immortality. Most shows fade when ratings drop or actors move on, but The Simpsons kept going, not just with new episodes, but through endless images shared online. What makes this staying power even stronger is that the show doesn't just hang on. It shifts with the times. It jokes about new worries the way it once joked about old ones. In the 90s, episodes poked fun at video stores and cable giants. Now they joke about streaming platforms, influencers, and gig work burnout. Not every new episode reaches the same highs as the golden years, but the effort to stay current has kept The Simpsons relevant longer than almost any scripted show ever. Springfield may be frozen in time, but its commentary moves with us. And if you zoom out, you can see something even bigger. The Simpsons has become a key marker for how we talk about family, society, and human life itself. That sounds big for a cartoon, but it's true. Homer's laziness, Marge's patience, Bart's rebellion, and Lisa's idealism aren't just jokes. They're symbols of struggles we all know. The show balances sharp mockery with real heart, making fun of life's flaws while reminding us that love, family, and community still matter, even in broken forms. This mix has made it last across generations and cultures. By doing this, The Simpsons didn't just make us laugh, it changed how we see comedy and culture. Before Springfield, comedy was about one-liners. After Springfield, comedy became about layering those jokes with meaning, mixing satire with silliness, and trusting the audience to get the hidden levels. That's why so much of today's content, whether it's satirical news, memes pages, or even Marvel movies, slipping in self-aware jokes feels like it owes something to The Simpsons. It set the rulebook, and now we live in a world that it was built in. So when we break down the hidden cultural impact of The Simpsons, what we find isn't just a cartoon. It's a mirror, a plan, a language, and a legacy all at once. It's a show that shaped how we laugh, how we talk, and how we think about the powers that run our lives. It's lasted through shifts in generations, tech revolutions, and even the rise of streaming. And it's still here, still mocking, still reminding us that the best way to face our life's chaos is to laugh at it. In the end, the real magic of The Simpsons may be in how it hides deep thoughts in silly jokes and makes us part of the joke. Do you believe The Simpsons shaped the way we see the world more than we realize? Thanks for watching and supporting our channel. Click the next video on your screen to explore more surprising ways this iconic show changed pop culture.